Namaste and welcome to Indian Diplomacy, a show about India's growing role in the world, India's rising stature in the international system, and India's major partnerships, how it engages with different corners of the world, and India's contribution to global public goods, international peace, order, stability, growth and prosperity. Viewers, generally we take up one country and India's relations with that country in Indian diplomacy, but this time we are looking at India's global outreach to its own diaspora. India's diaspora is officially around 32 million people spread in every corner of the globe, one of the big communities that's made an impact on the host countries and also is giving back in a big way to India. So this transformation of India's diaspora diplomacy is what we are discussing in this special episode, and to take you through this I have a very special guest in the studio, Dr. Vijay Chauthaiwale. Dr. Vijay Chauthaiwale is a scientist by training, but he also heads the Foreign Affairs Department of India's ruling Bharatiya Janata Party and has been involved in engaging with the Indian diaspora for several years. So Vijayji, thank you for joining us on this show. It means a lot.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me here.
First thing, Vijayji, when we talk of the diaspora, is that there is this strength in numbers, and there's the world's biggest diaspora. There's nothing bigger than this.
Yeah.
And you have been traveling and engaging with them for years and years, and you've seen them at close quarters. So what do you think are the core strengths of the diaspora? What makes them such a special community and such a strength for India?
Shriramji, see, first of all we need to understand this diaspora is very diverse. So, and there is a history. As you know that the Britishers have taken a lot of people to various parts of the world as a laborers, mostly farm laborers. Then they settled there for several generations, they are out of India. But one of the strengths is that they have still kept a cultural heritage intact to a great extent. Their names are still from our mythological figures. They still follow rituals. Most of them they follow Tulsi Ramayana, they read it. And so while they have completely assimilated in their respective countries where they are residing, they have also kept the heritage, values, culture of their origin intact. And I guess this is one of the biggest strength, and that's why there is a continuum of all these things you will find in the diaspora.
And apart from the cultural linkages, they are often talked about as a model citizens wherever they have gone. Yeah. The overseas citizens of India, as we call them now, and they integrate, they do not create problems in the host society, they are looked up to as exemplars.
Yeah.
So your thoughts on this? I mean, what is it that about the Indian Pravasi, as we call them, the diaspora, that makes them so adaptable to all these parts of the world? Why we don't try to bring in separate identities which can create problems in the host countries, and how we are contributing economically to all these countries?
Well, it's a good question. See, by nature Indians are very comfortable with multiple identities, and that's why they can easily get assimilated, adapted and also acclimatized with the local environment. And therefore they didn't face much of the issues when they go. Of course the early generations must have faced these issues, but now with a sizable number of people around, they are now very well acquainted with the local culture. And at the same time, because of their talent, because of their domain expertise, they have also grown to a great extent. For example, there are multiple doctors, thousands of doctors are there in US, and actually there is a big association of Indian doctors in US. There are nurses, thousands of Indian nurses, many of the people may not be knowing, they are working in various parts of the world, including countries like Israel, to give the old age care. The IT people, it's a well known story, hundreds of thousands of people have gone. Then the blue collar labor in Gulf countries. So if you see, even there is enormous diversity, their core expertise remained their biggest strength. And that, I guess, is one of the key factors of success of this diaspora. And also as you have said, they are very law abiding. The crime rate among the Indian immigrants is the lowest in almost all the countries without an exception. and at the same time they are developing the local economies, they are helping local economies. For example, the motels in US, they are virtually being controlled by one Indian community, and there are hundreds of such examples. You will see in the Bay Area, colonies have majority people, several residential colonies having majority people in Indian, but there is no law and order situation. They all live very peacefully, harmoniously with the local communities.
Absolutely.
And that, I guess, is the biggest strength of our community.
Right. Viewers, we are talking about the merits of the Indian diaspora globally and why they are so special. I'd like you to hear from none other than Prime Minister Narendra Modi about the unique attributes of the Indian diaspora. Let's hear him.
साथियों, दुनिया भर में फैले भारतीय डायस्पोरा को अगर मिला लिया जाए तो उनकी संख्या कई देशों की आबादी से अधिक होगी। उनका पहनावा, खान पान भले ही अलग अलग हो, लेकिन हमारी सोशल हार्मनी, वननेस और को एग्जिस्टेंस की जो वैल्यूज सभी भारतीयों में एक समान है और यही हमारी ताकत है। और जिनकी रूट्स किसी भी तरह मां भारती से जुड़ी हैं, वे स्वाभाविक तरह से लोकतंत्र और रूल ऑफ लॉ के प्रति सम्मान रखते ही हैं। एक भारतीय दुनिया में कहीं भी जाए, वो अपनी कर्मभूमि के लिए, उस देश के लिए पूरी ईमानदारी से कंट्रीब्यूट करता है। अनेक बार जब मेरी वर्ल्ड लीडर से मुलाकात होती है तो अपने देशों में बसे भारतीय समुदाय की उपलब्धियों के बारे में मुझे बड़े गर्व से बताते हैं। वे इंडियन कम्युनिटी के परिश्रम और शांतिपूर्ण नेचर की सराहना करते थकते नहीं हैं। और इसके लिए धन्यवाद का हकदार मैं नहीं, आप सब हैं। आप लोगों का व्यवहार, आप लोगों के संस्कार, ये उसके मूल में है और इसलिए मैं सबसे पहले ये जो बधाइयां मुझे मिलती हैं वो सारी आपको समर्पित करता हूं।
Viewers, Prime Minister of India articulating the strengths of the Indian diaspora like nobody else, and in a way, he has energized the Indian diaspora. It's never been as active, as engaged, as committed, and as linked back to Mother India as it has been under the Modi era. So, Vijayji, Prime Minister was talking about how when he meets world leaders, and one of the first things that makes them appreciate India is because of the ideal conduct and the contributions of our diaspora. So clearly, in a way, what Prime Minister is saying is that India's soft power is really riding on the shoulders of our diaspora, and you have seen that. So how has Prime Minister actually been able to mobilize people like this? I mean, we have not seen this before. In earlier eras, we even abandoned our diaspora. We said, they left India and they betrayed us. But now the mindset is totally different. The Prime Minister, when he addresses them, wherever he engages all over the world, and you've been with him many times, you see the kind of emotional connection that he draws with the local diaspora there, and the way he validates them and shows that whatever they are doing, is ultimately for the glory of India. So I think that's something, there's a Modi effect and you cannot deny it.
Absolutely. See, let me tell you something. In the early days, when the high-end professionals, highly qualified professionals have gone abroad, we have mostly criticized them, as you have
brain drain
said,
and this
brain
and that.
drain. So we use the term brain drain. Mostly we abandon them. At the same time, they went there. They faced the struggle of the first generation early goers, set up struggles to set them up themselves, and at the same time they excelled. But at the same time, mostly we ignored them, we have not recognized them. At the most, when some dignitaries goes, have some 50 people, 100 people having some hotel reception, nothing beyond that. It was, the credit first goes to late Prime Minister Shri Atal Bihari Vajpayee to recognize as a Pravasi Bharatiya Divas and to create this group of people as an asset for India. And as I told you before, because they have created a very good impression about India, Indian culture, Indian professionalism in their own field where they are working. Prime Minister Modi has taken it to the next level. He has said that these people are almost like my informal ambassadors, because lot of messaging what we cannot give through the government sources, these people are giving to the community, to the business, to the industry, to the politicians, to the policy makers, to the thought leaders, and therefore he has taken this interaction to a new level. One of them you have seen just now, but there are many such examples. But these interactions are also one major part, but at the same time he used this asset of Indian entrepreneurs or Indian origin entrepreneurs, the business experts, so that how the things can come back to India. So this is not a symbolism only, this is also a gain. From brain drain we are actually seeing the brain gain, we are seeing the capital gain, and we are seeing the talent gain. Lot of people are coming back and setting up the industry. Those who are settled there, they are also now looking India as one of the key base for their own businesses, multinational businesses. A lot of people are setting the manufacturing units in India. So this all revolution, in addition to the messaging, is happening, and that credit goes to Prime Minister Modi.
And the investment you talked about, I mean, earlier generations, they were hesitant and there was a doubt about India, but now we see more confidence about India among the diaspora. And that's why I think Prime Minister, whenever he engages with them, he talks about the major reforms domestically that are happening in India that attract the diaspora and make them feel proud. Because earlier, it is not wrong to say that the diaspora used to feel ashamed about India, but now it is completely turned around, and that sense of pride, I think, and belongingness, he always addresses the diaspora as mere pyare deshwasiyon, meaning whether you are, and he has said that it doesn't matter what the color of your passport is, we look at the blood, you are all part of this ancient civilizational state of India. So that has really, I think, brought a huge change.
Absolutely. See, what has happened is that the value of Indian passport has gone up everywhere, whether you stay in India or whether you stay in abroad. That is one part. Second is that lot of reforms what Prime Minister Modi has undertaken to bring, have to connect these people back home. For example, OCI card. Now OCI card, with OCI card you can virtually do everything in India except for the voting rights. So even though they are citizens of some other country, they can keep their bond with India very intact.
And NRIs, Vijayji, for non-resident Indians who are still citizens of India, we are now trying to get them to also do long distance voting. They can actually vote in elections.
There is a proposal to it. There are some logistic issues, but yes, in principle we have accepted. Supreme Court has given that direction that they should be allowed to vote using some technology or proxy voting. So some efforts are being done that in that way also. At least the process of them registering on Indian electoral roll has already started by Election Commission.
And investments, Vijayji, now I think one of the big reforms that was done was to treat diaspora investments as equivalent to domestic investment, and that is helping to change the flow, and we are getting a lot more now than before.
And startup, there are now many startups who have incubated somewhere else. but their operational base is in India, and vice versa, that they are working here, they are incubated in India, but they have multinational operations. Investments are also for Indian startups are coming from all over the world. So this is a very what I would say that a very comprehensive changes that have taken place in last 7-8 years.
And what about you mentioned the Gulf, because one cluster, like you said, highly skilled professionals, high income, highly educated in US, Canada, UK, and to a lesser extent in continental Europe. But there is also another cluster in the Gulf countries who are less educated and are mainly going to do labor intensive work. Now these you have UAE, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Kuwait, very large number, millions of them. They also have specific problems, and we have tried to resolve them. We have created I think more advanced form of insurance and pension contract, and all these kind of have been brought in for welfare of them, which was not the case. And Vijayji, you will remember when Prime Minister visited Gulf countries, he would even sit with our people who are doing menial work in the Gulf countries and have lunch with them, and the workers would say that no Indian leader ever did this for us, So in a way, we are not neglecting the low skilled component among them, and they also matter to us.
Absolutely, you are very right, correct. See, this government has made lot of reforms in that sector also. For example, most important thing and bad thing that used to happen is the exploitation by the contractors. So now Indian government has set up a system by which the contractors need to register with the Government of India that they are the legal people who are assigned for taking these blue collar workers to Gulf countries, and lot of the problems have got down because of that. I am not saying that 100% it is now error free, but significant improvement is there. Then the health what you are saying, health insurance of these workers, or what will happen once they are coming back to India, because none of them are citizens of that country, permanent. So at some time point they will have to come back. What will happen? So these are very complex issues, and Government of India are addressing them for the first time in last 7 years.
And the OCI card, Overseas Citizen of India, it's now being said that it's a lot easier. Earlier it was much more bureaucratic and all. So that also, the very notion that India is efficient, India is now modernizing, India is ready to welcome them, I think that's a big shift.
That's because the attitude has changed. And previously, as you know, to add to the confusion, that there were two cards, PIO and OCI. Prime Minister Modi, first thing what he has done, that he has merged them. And he said that whosoever has an Indian connection, means if you are a foreign born, but if your spouse is of Indian origin, still you can get OCI card.
Absolutely.
So, which is a big reform.
Big reforms. So it's not just talk and just events. There are actually a lot of background work. People like Dr. Vijay Chauthalwale are doing that, and so is the Indian government machinery. But viewers, one thing that's highlight of our diaspora is as of 2022, we have no less than 7 heads of state and government around the world who are of Indian origin. And it's a matter of pride for us that they have gone, settled there for generations and have made it big in public life and in politics in those countries, reaching the highest level. One such figure, very important one, is Pravin Jagannath. He is the Prime Minister of Mauritius, and he is of Indian origin. And he was in Varanasi a few years ago talking to the Pravasi Bharati Divas, which is the showcase Indian diaspora event organized by the government. Let's hear him about the diaspora perspective about India and how it's been changing.
This is a moment of deep privilege, not only for me, but for all of us from Singapore, Malaysia, Suriname, Fiji, the United States of America, Netherlands, Réunion, France, United Kingdom, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, Mauritius, and other countries, to be gathered under one roof as one family, irrespective of which part of the world we are coming from, irrespective of the languages we speak, and irrespective of how many generations ago our ancestors left India. We thank the Government of India for organizing this event since 2003, thus giving the Indian diaspora around the world the possibility to meet. This is undoubtedly the most prestigious gathering of the Indian diaspora. Our presence in such high numbers at this event reflects the strength of our bonds with this great country called India. It also reaffirms the resilience of our cultural heritage and ancestral values across time and space, and shows a common sense of belonging that arises from being a Pravasi. It reinforces our identity as a family of Pravasis. Thank you, India, for making this possible.
Thank you, India, for making this possible, says the Prime Minister of Mauritius. Vijayji, we have a diaspora in a lot of these Girmitiya countries, as they are called, and they have always longed for this open embrace, and finally they are getting it, and they are reciprocating in a big way. Now, when we have powerful figures in the diaspora who are making it very high to high offices, it clearly must be easing a lot of our bilateral relations and making it a lot smoother. And that way, this is really our strength, and you have engaged with these leaders, and if you'd like to share with the audience how it helps us, in our overall diplomacy, to have such extraordinary figures like Praveen Jagannath in office. No?
You see, purely in the political terms, any politician would look into what their constituents are looking for, and our presence in those key constituencies in terms of their businesses, in terms of their number, actually influences them to a great extent. And that is immediately number one. Second is that they are also aware, as you have seen it previously, that how they are contributing to the overall economy of the country, overall technological development of the country. Are they adding the new skills? Are the new domain experts? And that also, when you take a national perspective, it helps a lot. So, on all the, plus there is a soft power, like yoga, like Ayurveda, our spiritual leaders going there. You will not believe, there are some spiritual, I will give you example of Sri Sri Ravi Shankar.
Yes.
Few years back when he went to Buenos Aires, Argentina, his meditation program was actually conducted in a football stadium.
Wow.
With more than 100,000, that YouTube is available on the net. So, more than 100,000 people attended it. And when Prime Minister Modi went there after a few years for G20 summit, actually there were 8,000 native Argentinians did the yoga demonstration in front of her.
And Prime Minister always talks about how our diaspora can win friends for India among the local community.
That's a very classic example.
At least get five of the people
now he has
visit
appealed
India.
to it, yeah. So Indian tourism is going, because attraction about India has also gone up tremendously because of all these interactions. For example, I can tell you that when we went to meet then British Prime Minister Mr. David Cameron to invite him to the Wembley Stadium event, he said that you are saying me that Prime Minister Modi is coming to Wembley Stadium and you are gathering 60,000 people there.
Yes.
I cannot imagine, because if I go there, I won't be able to fill the town hall of Wembley.
So the numbers, so the demography, the size of it is also a big advantage.
Is a big strength for us, definitely.
Vijayji, you have also been involved in organizing and uniting the Indian diaspora. Some of them often are working at cross purposes. There are many associations, many groups, and some of the politics comes in. But you have one of the things Modi government has done is try to bring them all together on one platform, so that when you are abroad, as Prime Minister says, it doesn't matter whether you are Telugu or Gujarati or Marathi or Rajasthan. What matters is you are Indian, right? So that, if you'd like to share how you are able to do that, what kind of background work is being done to strengthen the diaspora networks?
See, Indians are as diverse anywhere in the world as in India, and everywhere you go, especially if the number is big, you see the microcosm of India there. So, same number of diverse people, languages, regions, religions, sects, subsects, all that you will find the reflection of what you see in India. That's in a way good because they all preserve their ancestry, but at the same time to bring them sometimes put a challenge. But the biggest magnet to bring them together is Prime Minister Modi.
Sure.
Without him, it would not have been possible.
He's a unifying figure.
He's a unifying figure.
Yeah.
So, all the groups, all the religions, they come together simply to welcome him. And that makes our job very easy.
Very much so. And Vijayji, we are almost out of time, but I'd like you to also talk about the diaspora, as a instrument for Indian soft power. I mean, the thing is, even the attitudes of people of India toward diaspora have changed. And now it is seen as a two-way flow. It's not seen as they just abandoned us. So that big shift, the people of India, when they see the diaspora thriving, it also inspires them. We have Sundar Pichai, we have Satya Nadella, some of the very, very successful global, CEOs who are of Indian origin. Prime Minister also engages with Indian American CEOs, for example, when he goes abroad. Yeah. So that kind of inspiration for people of India, there are young people in India who want to become the next Sundar Pichai or the next Satya Nadella or the next Indra Nooyi. So that effect, Vijayji, we would like you to talk about it.
I think there are two parts of it. How Indian technocrats and experts are contributing to their local companies. For example, now Tatas, who have acquired Jaguar and other JLR, are now one of the biggest or maybe the biggest employer in private sector in UK.
In the UK.
So this is a big thing. Similarly, nobody would invest in India if there is no dividend or specific returns. Simply because I am Indian, I cannot say that I will open a shop in India unless there is a value addition.
Right.
And all these CEOs, irrespective whether you are of Indian origin or not, they see this value addition. The very famous example of a legendary GE CEO, Jack Walsh, when he was given the proposal that we will start a small center in Bangalore, R&D center. When he realized about India's potential in those days, he said that if they are so good, then why it is only 10 people or 20 people you are talking about, why not hundreds? Now Intel has world's largest R&D center outside US in Bangalore. So, and it is not low-end coding, it is the R&D center. So, scientists are working there, technocrats are working there. So, I am seeing that enormous coherence between the diaspora, whether they are working abroad or whether they are working in India. And technology nowadays make the physical location secondary.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And I guess this is the biggest strength that we have achieved with our technological power and also with our talent all over the world.
Thank you. See, so viewers, what Dr. Vijay Chothaiwala is saying is that the digital economy as it's progressing, especially in services sector, it's much easier for the diaspora to invest here and to have centers of excellence in India and to help build the skill levels of people of India, and they want to give back. But earlier there were lots of obstacles for the diaspora to give back to India. Now in the last 7 to 8 years we have tried to remove those obstacles, and that's how we have reached a level of high level of fusion and integration between diaspora and Mother India that was not there before. So this is a work in progress, but we have made real progress. Dr. Vijay Chothaiwala, thank you so much for sharing your insights, sir.
Thank you for inviting me here.
Thank you. So that's all we have for you this time, viewers, on Indian diplomacy. Keep watching Indian diplomacy. Think about India's growing reach around the world and how India is transforming lives of people around the world through means like the diaspora. I'll see you again next time, and until then, take care.